Salutations! Thank you for lending an ear to The Voice of the Times for Thursday, July 1, 2021. For today's editorial, US lends a helping hand in fight versus HIV/AIDS. The Philippines has received a welcome boost to its efforts to end HIV/AIDS in the country with the launch of a 500 million peso or $10.3 million health program by the United States Agency for International Development or USAID. USAID formally launched a program called the President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief or USAID PEPFAR with a handover of 20,000 bottles of HIV prevention drugs or pre-exposure prophylaxis or PrEP to the Department of Health in Quezon City on Friday, June 25. The program is intended to target 3,500 at-risk patients with the HIV prevention drugs through 50 facilities across Metro Manila, Central Luzon, and the Calabarzon region. According to a statement from the U.S. Embassy in Manila, the USAID PEPFAR program, which is being implemented by USAID, the U.S. Centers for Disease Control, the U.S. Health Resources and Services Administration, and the U.S. Department of Defense, is part of a 2-year, $18.2 million or 875 million peso USAID commitment to U.S.-Philippine bilateral efforts to control and prevent HIV/AIDS. U.S. Embassy Charge d'Affaires John Law stressed that the U.S. government remains committed to supporting the Philippines' goal of ending AIDS by 2030 through strategies like the DOH's PrEP program. This first tranche of HIV prevention drugs is an initial step toward achieving the country's goal of ending AIDS, Law said. We have a long road ahead of us. The journey will not be easy, but the U.S. government shares your vision and is committed to standing by your side as a partner in realizing an AIDS-free Philippines. This latest assistance from the USAID could not have been more necessary or timely. According to recent data from the United Nations AIDS Program or UNAIDS, the Philippines is experiencing the fastest growing HIV epidemic in the Asia-Pacific region. Between 2010 and 2019, HIV prevalence in the Philippines increased by 207%, while AIDS-related deaths rose by 338%. As of the end of 2019, data for 2020 is a bit uncertain due to the COVID-19 pandemic. An estimated 97,000 people in the Philippines were living with HIV, of which only an estimated 44% were receiving antiretroviral treatment. Even before the appearance of COVID-19, the Philippines was already falling far short of its goal of meeting the so-called 90-90-90 target. That is, to ensure that 90% of people living with HIV knew their health status, to provide antiretroviral treatment to at least 90% of those, and successfully repress the virus in at least 90% of those receiving treatment by 2020. The COVID-19 pandemic has made reaching that goal even more difficult and unlikely. Virtually all of the country's public health resources have been devoted to the fight against COVID-19, and that is understandable, for reasons that should by now be obvious to everyone. However, other serious public health concerns have not simply gone away, and the lack of attention they have suffered can also compromise efforts against COVID-19. This is particularly true in the case of HIV/AIDS because there is a great deal of social stigma attached to it. A significant number of at-risk people do not seek medical care and are unaware of their condition. UNAID estimates this may be as many as 26,000 people, or about 27% of the total number of people living with HIV, because they fear discrimination or harassment. Not only are they at greater risk of spreading HIV, but they might also become undetected COVID-19 victims. The recently launched USAID program thus comes at a very opportune moment, providing the DOH with badly needed tools to continue its campaign to control and eventually end the HIV/AIDS epidemic in the Philippines, without attenuating its efforts against COVID-19. Much more will need to be done, of course, but the assistance of the US government through USAID is a significant step in the right direction. And that's the editorial for Thursday, July 1, 2021. For more news and information, get a copy of the Manila Times on print, subscribe to its digital edition, or log on to www.manilatimes.net. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, and listen to the Voice of the Times.